Post-millennial, Trump visits Bronx Barbershop in pitch to New Yorkers. The workers had Make Barbers Great Again shirts. So Trump is going to the Bronx. He's trying to win over more men and in the urban environments as well. It's actually pretty surprising to see Trump going to New York. But I got to tell you, I was in Philly recently, and there were Trump flags in Philly proper, big ones.
In Center City?
In Center City.
Wow.
I was surprised.
That is surprising.
Because in an urban center to see Republican flags is not normal.
I used to live there, and in Philly, you protest the DNC, and you protest the RNC, and you protest everything that comes
Trump
down
flags. There were Harris Waltz little ones, but they were just like yard signs we'd see propped up. We saw Trump flags, and we went all over. We drove north, south, central, and we saw a bunch of Trump flags everywhere. Now, while Donald Trump is trying to earn favor with black men as well, because Kamala is doing poorly, the good news is Don Lemon is scolding them. Take a look at this clip from CNN.
Yes. You're talking to a lot of voters, and I will just say that you texted me right around the Democratic convention, and you said, I am talking to people, and Kamala Harris has a problem with black men.
Yeah, and I told the campaign I did not hear from them. I mean, who am I for them to get back to me? But there's a problem. And look, I went from battleground state to battleground state. When they invited me to the convention, I didn't just want to fly there. I said, I'm going to go and talk to voters in battleground states. And I did. It was not curated. I went up to people just doing man on the street. I said, who are you going to vote for? Black men. And time after time after time, they said, I'm voting for Donald Trump.
Why?
Now, there are reasons why. They said, because most of the time they said, well, for economic reasons. Right? Or because he gave me a stimulus check. And I had to correct them over and over and tell them where that stimulus check came from a Democratic Congress and from Nancy Pelosi. And that Donald Trump actually held the check up so that his name could be put on the check. So they think they got the check directly from him. Meanwhile, Joe Biden has given 1 or 2 stimulus checks as well, but they seem not to know and understand that. You can vote for whoever you want to vote for. But the reasons that you're going to vote for them, I think that they should be accurate and factual, and you should know why you're supporting someone.
I think Don Lemon just showed how he has no idea what they're actually thinking. And he's making an excuse because if Joe Biden gave them 2 checks and Trump gave them 1 check, if it was about stimulus checks, they'd be saying, I'm voting for Kamala. I'm hoping that we get stimulus checks again. But they're not. Clearly, that is not the reason.
Yeah, I mean, it's really condescending. There's this Marxist element, too, of having to analyze everything through the lens of economics and assuming that people are only making their decisions based on where they think they're going to get money or have gotten money.
Based on how much the government is going to give them.
And there's truth in that. You can absolutely buy, like the government absolutely does buy people's votes in this way. But you have to remember that even though the left tries to build these coalitions of people who they see as being oppressed and then just assume that they're all going to get along with each other, the truth is the black community is more socially conservative than the Democratic Party would like for them to be. That's a really vague, oversimplified way of putting it to call them socially conservative. But on issues like gay marriage and transgenderism, they're certainly not to the left. So you can imagine why, if being aware of Kamala's position on those issues, they wouldn't like her. It doesn't just have to be a financial thing.
Well,
but they don't want to admit, like, they want you to think that any socially conservative position is adjacent to white supremacy. So they can't admit when black people are out of line with the establishment.
There might also be something to what we were talking about before. Maybe they don't want to vote for a lady for president.
That's also very likely, yeah.
You know?
Very likely.
And they don't want to say it?
Yeah. I mean, why would you want to say that?
I don't know. I kind of feel like if you're a young man, you're going to say it.
You're going to say, well, and also I think because white people have been beaten down and basically forced to consume this narrative of our own guilt, white people are less likely to say politically incorrect things. I mean, black men don't have white guilt, so they are more likely to just say something politically incorrect when they believe it.
Right.
Absolutely. Oh, and a lot of you guys might be asking yourselves, why is Trump spending any time in the Bronx? Why is he spending any time in Long Island?
He's making a play for New York. He said it.
Well, thank you, Libby, for answering the question I was about to answer myself. So the reason Trump is going to New York is not because he thinks he could win New York, but it's because the path for Republican domination over the House of Congress is through New York. So all of the districts surrounding New York City where people will come to his rallies from is the way Trump will win the House. So on Long Island, I would call it upstate, but right up north, White Plains, right above the city, all of these areas were ripe for their picking in the the past midterm where Republicans had some seats, and Republicans want to remain in those seats moving forward. And that's the way Trump's going to be able to be effective if elected in office, because he will need Congress behind him.
That sounds like but that sounds like Donald Trump has resigned to already having won the general, and now he's going to pick up seats.
Well, I think it's something that he doesn't want to forget about, because I believe it was his first term where he was dealing with a slight majority, and then at that midterm he lost his majority. I think he understands the importance of having Congress behind him as well, because he can't be as effective.
People also forget that New York basically delivered the red wave. It was 5 seats in New York in 2022 that Lee Zeldin flipped.
What I'm saying is that if Trump is willing to take time right now in the middle of the presidential cycle to go to New York, which he cannot win, because he wants to help win congressional seats, then he feels like he's already won the general.
Maybe he wants to take Barron
he would be in Ohio, Pennsylvania. He'd be in Wisconsin. And he did go to Wisconsin, I think, today, right?
Yeah.
But if he's spending time in New York for what you're saying, he's basically saying, you know what? I'm doing so well. I've got time. Let's try and win some congressional seats. Like, he views himself as being way ahead.
Yeah, I think he's thinking of a grand campaign. He's coming at it as this is his 3rd presidential campaign. He understands the lay of the land. He understands the importance of the House. And that's why I think he's spending so much time, or well, really any time in New York that we haven't seen in his past 2 campaigns.
He also got a great reception in Crotona a while back. Didn't he do a big rally in Crotona in the Bronx?
Yep,
Crotona
he's been
Park?
there. He's been there a few times.
He did well there. And then AOC and Jamal Bowman went out there and they bombed.
Yeah.
Well, and all the Democrats have said too. I mean, you can see it in their actions with the whole January 6th stuff, but they'll just work to impeach him if they have a majority in Congress, or at least
that's how they would literally spend the entire 4 years
or worse
trying to do that.
Yeah, it would almost be so bad. Maybe the typical swing that you see in the midterms where it goes for the party counter to the president. I think it'd be an interesting comparison to see if the blowback from not getting anything done and just focusing on politically motivated witch hunts against Trump.
Well, let's just be frank. He hasn't been reelected, and there have already been assassination attempts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I don't think impeachment is the only trick up their sleeves.
And I mean, there could be more.
Mm-hmm.
The prediction is that there's going to be more.
I mean,
Iran. And then you heard Biden gave a warning to Iran saying...
and our own government.
Right,
yeah,
but
yeah, fair enough.
So whether you think it's Iran or otherwise, the point is the narrative has been placed. Iran is trying to take the life of Donald Trump. Biden has warned publicly Iran it is an act of war if you harm Donald Trump. And wouldn't the war machine love a casus belli for a war with Iran?
Oh, that's so ripe for conspiracy theory.
Right.
Well, and it's not even conspiracy theory, and I'm a little rusty on the facts, but I believe it was Asaf Merchant, right? The Iranian would-be Trump assassin that they arrested like 2 weeks.
Pakistani.
Sorry. Yeah. But but that to my point, most Iranian would-be assassins that we've seen, whether it was against like John Bolton or other types like that, they have explicit ties to whether it's the IRGC or just Iran in its entirety. But this Pakistani guy was only tangentially linked to Iran through the fact that I think he had like a few family members who lived there. He was not part of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. And it was the FBI that facilitated his entry into the United States via the southern border. But it was really interesting because in the affidavit that they had when they finally arrested him, all of the evidence that they used pointing to the rationale to arrest him, it had to do with acts that he committed after entering the United States. There was nothing to do with any of his activities before, which is historically sort of unprecedented when it comes to these foreign assassins. And this is the craziest part. The bounty that they say this rando dude that they used to push this whole Iran plot, that they say that Iran placed on Trump's life was $5,000. $5,000, when in comparison for John Bolton, I think it was hundreds of thousands of dollars over. So very weird, shady story going on with that guy.
I hope Trump's got good security.
Yeah, I really do too.
Because he's using Secret Service, and that report came out recently where they said
more money, of course.
If they do not, there was an independent report that said if the Secret Service does not have a fundamental change right now, the Secret Service cannot protect its designees.
Did you hear about the motion that was brought forward in West Virginia?
Which one was that?
I believe they said they would not certify the election if Donald Trump or J.D. Vance were assassinated.
Really?
Wow. Yeah. I don't know that they agreed to it, but it was proposed.
When Kamala Harris always has the refrain, though, I guess she changed it a little bit slightly when she's, there's nothing I would change about a Biden presidency. I always think it's pretty dark, right? Yeah. You wouldn't have given more Secret Service agents or rehashed what happened on July 13th?
You wouldn't have prepped better for the hurricanes?
Yeah.
You wouldn't go back to the border and try and say, there's nothing?
Maybe done better on that Afghanistan withdrawal.
No, they did everything they wanted to do. Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.